Hello, my book friends. Welcome back, or just welcome if you are new here. My name is Lou, and this is Literaturely Lou, where we talk about fantasy and sci fi books. The book that we are talking about today, if you have not yet read this book, this might be the most interesting book you read all year. It has won a Hugo Award, and it is not hard to see why. It is a currency in the argument of why people should read sci fi books. And the book that we are talking about, my friends, is Ancillary Justice by Ann Leckie. This book came out in 2013. I don't know how I missed it. I'm really glad I got to it now, though. I have so much that I want to say about this book, so we're going to just jump right in. This book was recommended by a sci fi creator on Book Talk, and when I went to Barnes & Noble for my weekly perusal, it happened to be there. The sci fi section at my Barnes & Noble is expanding, and I believe that social media is to blame for that. So I think something about seeing that video before seeing the physical copy in front of me at the bookstore. Something about that felt kismet, and yeah, I had to pick up the book. I did sit down and read a couple pages while I was still at the bookstore before making my final decision. I haven't been wanting to take my book recommendations from social media as much. I took a chance, and I'm really happy that I did. So, Ancillary Justice is a trilogy. It is the Imperial Radich trilogy, or the pronunciation for this trilogy is up for debate. I've heard some people say Radich, some people have said Ratch, and some people have said Rock. And I think it's one of those circumstances where like all of those have the potential of being correct. So I'll let you be the judge of that. I've been saying Radich. I also didn't listen to the audiobook for this one. I think that could have been helpful for pronunciation. But truthfully, I made it through this book so quickly, I didn't even get the chance to make it to the audio. The irony is that language is actually a huge factor in the story, but we will get to that. So, to understand the synopsis of this story, there are some base pieces I feel should be explained first. I use this example in a short, and I think I'm going to recycle it here. But to read this story, you have to picture standing in a room full of surveillance cameras, all showing very different and present realities of the main character's life. Because the main character is an AI, they are an artificial intelligence divvied up by 1,000 soldiers and a starship named Justice of Torin. That concept is a little complicated at the beginning of the story, because on top of that, the book follows two different timelines. And in our present timeline, our main character has been dissolved into a single human form. Stay with me here. That's just an overview of who our main character, Breq, is, whose perspective you're reading from. Another fundamental part of the story to understand would be the world, which was also a little complicated because in this book, there are cities that exist on ships that take up real estate somewhere in space. Mind you, there's no map. There's no map at the front of this book. I kind of wish there was, because there's Breq's ship, Justice of Torin, but then there are other ships, and I don't know where they fall, like in proximity to each other. Like, are they really close, or I don't know. It kind of reminded me of Mortal Engine, like all these big cities existing on this like portable machine, like these movable cities. Although to my understanding, these ships don't move. They are stagnant in space. But still, you get my point. So Breq's purpose in their past timeline was to be a soldier and a servant to the Radchai people, which are the people that lived in the city that existed on Breq's ship. Have I lost you? So confusing. I love it. But plot twist, our AI has morals. Breq has lines they are not willing to cross, and they are asked to do just that. And that is the jump off point to the story in book one. So, yes, the book does have a slow start. There's a lot of world building that needs to be broken down, hierarchies that need to be broken down. And like I mentioned before, language is a huge factor in this story as well. The language spoken in the city of Radich doesn't have a word that differentiates the pronouns he or she. And this is interesting because now you see gender expressed through a sentient being that's never had to categorize male or female. And in fact, Breq seems very exasperated with those nuances, and they just refer to everyone as she. And there have been some debates as to why she, why not he, why not they. And in fact, a lot of reviewers, myself included, have been applying the pronoun they to Breq because there's nothing in the book that indicates if Breq is female or male presenting, and they is our gender neutral pronoun. There has been some fascinating discourse around this. He was also a gender neutral pronoun at a point, so some people have asked why the author didn't choose he. And I don't have an answer to that, and I haven't found an answer to that. But I do like how it's challenged people's mindsets around pronouns and how they attach to gender. And it also makes me think about terms and phrases that have become more popular, like girl or hey lady, which are phrases that I say gender neutrally. Like if I'm at a social gathering of some kind and someone says something a little out of pocket, maybe like in a funny way, I'll probably be like, girl, not insinuating that that person is a girl, just that they said something that was funny or witty or just kind of strange. And then, hey lady is kind of a greeting that just comes naturally for me, and I use it for everyone. And I have been met with that confused, I'm not a girl. And I know you're not a girl. I can see that you're not a girl. I wasn't referencing your gender. But anyway, seeing gender through Breq's perspective, I just thought was really interesting. And it's also interesting seeing Breq handle grief. Someone that Breq cares deeply about is harmed in the process of Breq's service. And as I've said, Breq is an AI with morals. So they seek revenge, which I believe goes against the first rule of AI. Then again, you got to do what you got to do. And in this case, revenge was deserved. So honestly, this was a phenomenal, phenomenal book. A strong book one, despite the slow start. Given everything that Ann Leckie wanted to introduce into this story, I feel like it was approached really, really well. The cadence of writing was so good. You quickly fall into rhythm. Once you start reading, you can just take off. There's not enough good things that I could say about this book. Not to mention, I wouldn't call this a techno sci-fi. I think when people are looking for techno sci-fis, they're not looking for this. But me personally, I think I have been in the space of techno sci-fis looking for this. And I really want more of this. It's not just a space opera, there's not just some cool tech. We're reading a story through the perspective of an artificial intelligence. And the moments of the story where Breq is sharing a scene that they are experiencing through a different segment of themselves, mind-bendingly cool. Unique, exciting. So I cannot say enough good things about this book. I've already ran out to get book 2. I've already started it. There has been a shift in the pronoun thing. I cannot wait to finish it and review the second installment. Like I said, if you have not read this book yet, I think it's going to be your most interesting read of 2026. However, that is it. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you friends in the next one. Happy reading.